Hello and welcome to the Six Star Business Podcast, where we have conversations about what it takes to do things differently in business. That is, going beyond the status quo. What does it take to be extraordinary rather than ordinary? And not only becoming extraordinary, but being in business for a meaning, for a purpose, for a reason, and not just making money. And in this episode, I sat down with Ian Westmoreland. He's the founder of Mentoring Men, a charity that helps support men going through any kinds of struggles and providing mentorship to them. He's a grandfather of 12. He's inspirational, he's energetic, he loves cycling. What I loved about this conversation the most was the passion and the energy with which he speaks about everything. And he's been open to opportunities and he can see why things have worked out for him. And I think one of the biggest reasons is that he believes in himself and he's not afraid to speak and share his passions, and he does that. And there's this quote, is it fortune favors the bold? I feel that Ian is one of these people. Fortune has followed him because he's been bold enough to be brave to share his dreams and ideas, to share his passions and what moves him, and he's made things happen because of that. This is a wonderful conversation. It's really inspiring. I ask him questions about finding one's purpose and, what spurred him on to become entrepreneurial, and he answers it all. So sit back and enjoy this one with Ian Westmoreland. Well, hello and welcome. It is another episode of the Six Star Business Podcast. I am your host, Aveline, and I have a very special guest today. This is Ian Westmoreland. Ian, welcome and thank you for joining me.
G'day, Av. It's great to be here and thank you for the opportunity.
You're so welcome. I can't believe I didn't ask you to be a guest on this podcast sooner, given how long I've known you and the journey we've been on this year. But you're here now, and that's what matters. Everything in perfect timing and divine order, as people say. So how about we get started? I'm really looking forward to getting to know you better as well and sharing your story with our audience. So let's start with, can you share with us, where are you in the world? We have an international audience. So where are you? Who do you serve? How do you serve them? And what's something you like to do when you're not busy serving people?
Okay, I'll try and answer all those. There's a few questions there. So I live in a place called Asquith, which is in Sydney, Australia. Who do I serve? I serve my wife. She's the boss. I serve my family. So we're blessed to have 4 kids, and we just had number 12 grandchild a couple of weeks ago. And I love spending time with them and just having fun with them. I also, over the last few years, and we'll hear this in my story, but I feel called to serve other people, and initially men in particular, because us men often struggle than other demographics. But as you know, we're part of another passion project where we just want to serve the wider community. Av, I think I missed a question there in that. What do I do when I'm? I always love sport. For me, sport's such a key part for my good mental health. And I love bike riding. I was thinking this morning, because it's been pouring in Australia on the East Coast and it's raining at the moment. But I bought my wife an indoor trainer where you hook up a bike, it's all computerized, and you can virtually ride anywhere around the world. And it's just been such an amazing thing. So I ride that 3 or 4 times a week. And, this last week I've ridden around United Arab Emirates. I've ridden around Belgium. And probably this afternoon, if I get time, I'm going to ride one of the Ironman courses. So that's, cycling, exercise, time with grandkids.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's been raining here nonstop all weekend as well, so I hear you. And but there is some sunshine out there, and not to make you jealous, but yeah, our rain has subsided. But I love the idea of getting on that indoor trainer and choosing your destination. That sounds a lot of fun.
My competitive urge takes over, because unfortunately you've got a computerized display that tells you how many watts you've averaged, how fast you've averaged, and of course you just sweat because it's indoors. I've got fans on, but Yeah, but it's great. I keep increasing the goal. My goal now is to ride 5,000 kilometers this year, and I've upped that twice. So yeah.
Wow. Good on you. That's impressive. I'm not going to ask you on live podcast air how old you are, Ian, but your story might give away, I guess, sort of like you've done a lot in your time. So the next question is, how about you share with us a bit of your story? Like what's brought you to where you are today?
So I grew up in Melbourne in a working class suburb there, born in Dandenong in '54. So that's going to give away my age. Went from doing pretty well at primary school to ultimately failing high school, year 12. Just, I don't know, I guess a bunch of my mates, we just hang out together. We didn't do any work and we all failed. And ultimately, I went on and got my high school certificate at night school and then started doing engineering. But it was just all too hard trying to have a social life and study. I think I know you've done that successfully, but I just wasn't committed enough. So I just grabbed the first job I could get, which was a job in the public service. But I always saw myself being more successful. And back then, one of the key definitions of me for being successful was to make money. And I started doing other businesses. I worked full time for Telstra, which is a telecom in Australia. And I thought, well, what can I do? And back then, I was playing high grade of squash. I used to play what they call state grade squash. So I started a business where I imported squash rackets and then I would wholesale them around squash centres throughout Victoria, New South Wales, and South Australia. And then I added to that tennis rackets and ultimately sold about 7,000 rackets. Learned a lot, stuffed up a lot, but got a number of valuable lessons. And
How
then
old were you, Ian, when you were doing this?
Probably 21, 22. I moved out of home when I was 19. I bought half a house with my sister. I just feel for young people nowadays because the house prices in Australia are just ridiculous. And said I took some risks and had a go. And said learned a lot from that. I then met my now wife, and when we got married, we moved into a milk bar, like a general store in a sort of a rural area called Heatherton in Melbourne. And I would run that 7 days a week. I'd open in the mornings, then go off to my job at Telstra, and come back. I had a display of squash and tennis rackets in the shop. So it's a pretty tough gig, but we learned a lot again from that. Learned how to interact with people. Learned a lot of smart stuff. You put the stuff the people come into the shop for, like milk, you put down the back of the shop, so they've got to walk. You don't make much profit on that, but they've got to walk past the items that you make more money on, and like newspapers would be down the back. So we took a business that was bankrupt when we bought it, and this would be back in 83, 84, showing my age, but it was turning over $250,000 at the end of 12 months. But in the meantime, we just had our second child was due, and it was just too hard for my wife.
Was she
So
working in the store?
she was
Like,
working in the
or did you
shop.
have, yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes you just hand a baby over to one of the customers while you had to make a milkshake and stuff like that. So, but it was a great learning experience. And in the early days, like I wasn't earning much in Telstra, and we were struggling. So, my wife would go out. She was cleaning houses. She worked at Denny's restaurant. One of her brothers had a plant propagation business, and she was doing what you call disc budding. But then I gradually worked my way into more and more senior positions. Even though I was unqualified, had a strong work ethic. And then we made an incredibly brave decision. And my wife, Helen, is the brave one. But after 22 years, I quit my job in Telstra to take up a contract role in Auckland, New Zealand. And I can't believe I did this. So a lot of people were getting packages, but I didn't. But I went to 2.5 times the pay that I'd been on. And it was a huge change of lifestyle. So Helen and the 4 kids and I went over, lived in Auckland. And she just had a ball. She almost became a professional sports person. She was playing squash and tennis, and just had a great lifestyle, which was a real blessing to us. And I just worked incredibly hard, but I loved the work environment. Coming from an organisation that, when I joined, had over 90,000 people, to a relatively small dynamic telco in New Zealand, just opened up a whole lot of opportunities. And I've seen in a different light. I think there's something like an expert, someone who's carries a briefcase and travels more than 100 kilometres. But all of it, this view of me was someone who was going to help them get going in business. And one of the things, I went as a contractor, and a month later, I was diagnosed with hepatitis A. They'd asked me to fly to America to check out a system over there. And I thought I was dying. I just felt so bad. And when I got back, they actually paid me a contractor's sick leave and it just built such loyalty. So I put a huge amount of work in there, and it was really fulfilling. And then after a couple of years, I took up another option to start a contract with Optus, another telco in Sydney, and that was great. And then ultimately finished up in the energy utility space. I guess there my life took a turn. So gone from being struggling financially to being in well-paid positions, and then in 2013, I increasingly started to think there's more to life than just making money and delivering software changes. And then on the 10th of September 2013, I got on the train at my local station to come to work, and I continued to read a book that my youngest daughter, Adele, had given me. And when I turned the page, what I read just resonated with me. And basically, it questioned the meaning of life. And as the author went through these things, I ticked them off. Have a family, get a good job, and buy a boat, a whole bunch of other stuff. And then it really got my attention. He said, hit age 59 and a half, collect retirement, die. So this is the 10th of September 2013. I was born on the 10th of March 1954. I was 59 and a half to the day that I read that. And I've shared that many times. Many people just say, well, that's a coincidence, Ian. I don't think it was. I feel this is my purpose. Why would an author say retire at 59 and a half? I don't know anyone. It'd be 60 or 65 or 70. And then a few days later, I just went from a walk with my wife. We went for a coffee. She saw a woman she recognised on another table. I just kept reading the paper. When she came back, I said, "Oh, who was that?" And it turned out it was the woman who was a scripture teacher for the daughter who gave me this book. And so I just went to say hello, and this woman had this amazing quality, this love just radiated from her. And we started chatting, and two things came out of it. One, she and her husband have been running this support group for young mums, generally young single teenage mums who probably aren't getting the support that would be good for them. She said, we can't keep up with demand, and we're turning women away. Like they put on a brunch. And I said, well, look, I've just got this, I feel there's more purpose for me. So we've we agreed then to fund that program for another day, which we did for several years. The other thing she mentioned was mentoring through this program that ran in high schools. So my wife and I signed up. We did the mentor training, and in May 2014, so I guess 6 months after reading that book on the train, I quit my job, and I've been basically a full-time volunteer since May 2014. Then through, I guess, the knowledge, always hungry to learn things. I learned so much from the young people I was mentoring at high school. And there was one of the encounters I had was this young guy. The very first time I had a chance to meet him and talk to him. And we just chatted around for a while. And then at one point he shared with me that his father had suicided. His mum was an addict who was in rehab. He was living with his grandparents, which he hated. And then he just looked at me and he started crying, and he said, Ian, help me. What do you do? I'm not trained. anyway, so the conversation finished. I debriefed with the program counselor looking for advice. And she said, Ian, are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm okay. And she asked again, and I just started crying. And it was, I guess, the frustration. Like under this program, you can't meet these. Obviously, for child protection, you don't meet them out of school or anything like that. So the only opportunity was these once a week interactions. And for a few months, I was down. I just, I couldn't work it out what was going on. And then I realized that I wanted a mentor just like these other people I was mentoring. I should clarify, mentoring such a broad term. For most people in business, like you would be a mentor to someone who's looking at doing professional podcasting, where you guide, instruct, and advise. But what I was doing and what I wanted was life mentoring. I'm not broken. I didn't need fixing. I just wanted someone who was going to listen to me, give me encouragement, give me support. So I looked around I Googled the nearest organization who could provide life mentoring. And all I could find was a bunch of old guys up the north coast of New South Wales in a place called Coffs Harbour. They looked like Dad's Army, if you ever watched Dad's Army. But anyway, I reached out to them and they had no plans to expand out of Coffs Harbour. So it motivated me to write a proposal to establish what was to become Mentoring Men. Now, there's a whole lot of amazing steps along the way. It launched, I totally underestimated how much work was involved. I was working 7 days a week and long hours, but unbelievably exciting. There's no doubt we were saving lives, we were transforming lives, but the workload was unsustainable. But on the positive side, more and more people got on board in terms of engaging in the program or financially supporting the program. And so last year in 2022, we're able to actually appoint a dedicated paid CEO. There's now a team of about 12 people. And I've stepped aside from all operational responsibility. I'm still an ambassador for the program. And my wife Helen was hoping, well, that's it now. We're going to get more of Ian back. But then I thought about another, I call them passion projects. And back in the 1990s, I had this idea where I'd seen the power of storytelling. And the idea was that people who've been through adversity share their story to give hope and inspiration to others. And at the time, I definitely didn't have the self-confidence. I didn't have the time or the money. So I wrote to several leaders in Australia suggesting that here's an idea they should make it happen. And one of them was an entrepreneur in Australia called Dick Smith. And he sent me back a handwritten note saying, Ian, it's a great idea. You do it. And it sat there all that time. And then early on this year, I've moved, my workload with Mentoring Men has dropped, and I thought, I'm going to do this. And clearly the technology's changed. There's now these things called podcasts and there's ebooks and a whole bunch of other stuff. But as with all the other enterprises I've done, I'm committed. I'll do my best to make this happen. And it is happening. And you've played a key role in this in terms of the guidance and in terms of the doing. Now, I'm not sure if that's what you wanted. That's a long background story, but that brings Ian up to date.
Oh, that's absolutely gold. A couple little thoughts along the way. When you mentioned buying the milk bar, whose idea was it to buy the milk bar? Was it the combination of both of you and Helen, or was it more one of you than the other?
It's Helen's parents, or her father particularly, played a key role. So this milk bar used to be a thriving business, and due to poor management, had been run down. And my father-in-law, Frank, had a flower farm. Another amazing story, uneducated, Italian background, came out here, and he had this flower farm across the road, and they'd seen what this business was like. And so in chatting with him, he mentioned this, and I thought, well, let's give it a go. So it was a joint decision, but it was a great decision. A, in terms of making some money, but B, the lessons learned around marketing and people skills. I should say that after I thought we clever when we finished and we ultimately sold the business. And then a new guy, I think a Lebanese guy, came in and took it over, and I called in there, and we'd bought packaged stuff from, Mars bars and all that sort of stuff. This guy had taken another level. He bought stuff in bulk and then packaged up his own stuff. So I assume that the profit margin would have been a lot higher and would have been successful. Although interestingly, I went past when I was down in Melbourne last time, and I think the business is shut down. But then the days we were there, this is when weekend trading wasn't going on, and the supermarkets weren't playing the same role. So it was
sure,
like a lot of things in my life, even in IT, I seem to have been fortunate. There's a season, and I've been in the right place at the right time.
You were open to it. You were open to the opportunity, and you weren't thinking, well, my corporate job is the only way to earn money.
No, I've been asked several times, what the difference is, and with people who succeed in at least attempting or starting, and those who don't. And if I can just share a bit around that, because I'm certainly no smarter, certainly no more qualified, but the number of times I meet people who share their dream or the passion with me. I had a pull-up banner at the local shopping centre, and this guy, for mentoring men, this guy came along and he told me about his dream to support new dads. But he hadn't done anything. He'd been a dream for years and years. And in fact, it took I said, can you give me a proposal around this? And it took him ages just to provide one page. I met another guy who's a key part of mentoring men. He told me about his passion to reduce suicide. And he had a one-pager, but he had that thought for years, hadn't done anything. And then I met another guy down in Melbourne who is also part of our program now. He's an Indian migrant, and he said, for 10 years had been wanting to do something to support migrants coming into Australia. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's analysis paralysis, if it's like there's a lot of not hard stuff, boring stuff to do. You just got to do stuff. You just got to make it happen. So I don't know where they struggle, but the advice I'd give is like, sure, check it out, put some thought behind it, but then just have a go. Ready, fire, aim, or whatever. Just make it happen. So I get the perception that most people don't do that. I went to a book writing course a few months ago, and I forget the figure, but it was like over 80% of people want to write a book. 2% do. So, yeah, people just work that out.
I'm really intrigued about the difference as well. Like, my mind goes to what made it different for you and Helen at that point? Was it Helen's dad's influence who said, hey, here's a business, your open-mindedness, Helen's bravery, all that combined to say, yeah, let's do this. And I've still got the telecom job during the day. And I wonder if you were in today's society, same conditions or age, would that have happened? And this is the question I have.
I'm going to disappoint you here a little bit. One of the prime motives for me doing this was to impress my father-in-law.
Love it.
There was some disappointment and controversy around the marriage. I felt that sort of pressure, and I just wanted to show them that their daughter had made a good choice. So that's been totally up front.
But what a great reason, and it's a reason that's propelled you on this path. You learned so much, and all of a sudden you've probably grown so much as a young 20-something. Like, what an amazing experience, right? As a result of wanting to impress your father-in-law.
Look, our relationship after a bit of a short rocky period was incredible. And later on, we would have meaningful chats, and I thought he was a great role model particularly in the long term. So yeah, and yeah. So anyway,
Nice.
I haven't told anyone before.
Thank you for sharing. It's funny the motivations we have for the things that we do. And I love the synchronistic moment that you had on the train reading that passage. You know, like you said, what's the chances of the author writing 59 and a half and you're sitting there to the day at 59 and a half? When you read that, what was going on for you internally and also in your mind? Like, was there something powerful that you became aware of inside of you?
Um, so my faith is Christian, and in fact, I've thought a lot about this over the last few weeks because of other circumstances. But I feel we're all got a purpose in life. We're all called to what I'm calling the best life. In fact, over the last few weeks, I put together, as I think in terms of pictures, I put together a PowerPoint slide that to me um, clarifies in my own mind what I believe the best life is. And for me, my definition is where we use our skills, our talents, our experiences to positively impact the world. And it's a place where we find maximized fulfillment, contentment. It's a place of true vulnerability, of honesty, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And I feel in life's journey, there's a whole lot of experiences that we have, most of them negative, and we can lose track of what the best life is. And the experiences could be this push towards capitalism, materialism. It could be abuse. There's a whole bunch of stuff, relationship breakdown. But saying that, I know it's impossible for people to only live the best life at certain periods. There's seasons. And I shared, for me, making money was a key thing for a lot of, was struggling. So, but I think, I thought, why am I even putting this PowerPoint thing together? But I'd love to increase recognition, or for people just to sit back and think at some point, just to be aware that there, in my view, there is a best life out there for them. And maybe at some point they could rethink where they're going and maybe start to move closer to that. I think it's really sad that some people never even think about that, and they just get caught up in the influences that have happened through their life, and just they don't get that fulfillment and contentment.
So they're busy doing the doing and reacting and just being swept along instead of actually standing still and looking inside who they are and asking the questions about who they can be and
Yeah, we
what's
were in
true for them.
we were in Greece about a month ago, and the Greek guide was telling us about Onassis. Now, for those who don't know, Onassis was the richest man in the world at one point, and he initially made his money in the black market with tobacco, and then he invented packaged cigarettes and absolutely made a squillion. And then he went on and became a shipping magnate, and he married uh, Jackie Kennedy and all that. And he someone's he said once, I think, people say that money can buy you love. Well, I would tell you that's not true unless they've got more money than me. And he had a string of broken relationships, of personal setbacks. But the way the guy presented him was a very successful Greek. And I interrupted. I said, look, it depends on your definition of success. I would argue that the guy who hasn't got much money but has got a loving family, supportive environment is far more successful than Onassis. And I think that's one of the things that shoot at home to me. But so many people see what you said, Av, they just get caught up in this thing. And I'd love to get them just to have a rethink about that.
So when you read that passage on the train that day, at 59 and a half, what was it that was activated in you? Was it the realization that you had a best life to live? Or was it something else?
Yeah, it was. It was. I'd been questioning up to that a greater purpose, a more meaningful purpose. Um, we're not wealthy, but we certainly had enough. You know, um, certainly had enough money, and there's a fair bit of stress with that. But the level of fulfillment in my life, it's never been higher than what it is at the moment. And we're fortunate we can do that. My wife still works. She's a nurse at the local hospital, and she's the breadwinner. Um, but yeah, it opened up to I guess finding one of the main purposes for my life, and that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm living.
Yeah, and as you're talking, Ian, I can, for those that are listening to the audio, Ian's just radiating this glow as he's talking. You can just, he's just got this beautiful energy coming out of him. Ian, has your purpose become clearer over time, or has it evolved?
So I think there's more than one purpose. I'd say it's both. It's clearer and it's evolved. I should highlight that this is there's still challenges in life. One of my beautiful daughters once said to me, because of the amount of time I was putting into this, she said, "Dad, you seem to care more about these men than you care about your family." So there's clarity. There's sacrifices that need to be made, and I need to be. I think I can see the bigger picture, but the people around sometimes maybe don't see that. So there are challenges with what I'm doing, and ultimately, I hope the people around that I maybe sometimes disappoint will ultimately understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. I think they do. I think they just vocalize to me. Sometimes they're not happy with what I'm doing.
Okay, here's a question. Do you think, and this doesn't have to apply to your situation specifically, but let's just take your example here of your daughter not being happy with you. Would you say that if someone close to you had a good sense of their own purpose, would they be then more understanding of how you're achieving yours and not feel so let down by you?
Absolutely. I guess they're caught up in that diagram where I talked about from birth up to the best life. When you're in that sphere, and this daughter, that the one in particular, has got a high pressure job. She's got 3 kids, is running the family and all that other stuff. So I get that. I should also raise the point that I've looked after all of her 3 kids part time while she's been doing this, and anyway, but that sounded like a justification for
Not at all.
for myself. But yeah, I get that when people are so caught up in the busyness and where I was, yeah. But if they found their own purpose, then maybe there'd be this excitement. I'm so glad you got that. How can I help? Not well, you're doing this, and it's
Yeah.
negatively impacting me.
So, what kind of world would it be if the people around us were tapped into their purpose as well?
Much better world. We I'm sometimes asked about the declining rate of mental health, increasing rate of suicide, increasing rate of isolation and relationship breakdown and all that sort of stuff. And I think one of the key parts of that is the loss of the village. So growing up in the 50s and 60s, there was a really strong neighbourhood connection. We never had a telephone, but people knew to ring Mrs. Ryan 3 houses down, and she would come up and tell us there was a phone call. Or we go over and see the Levies across the road, and like afternoon tea, and we'd have our Shanghais and slingshots out and getting up to mischief, but with all the kids within the neighbourhood. So there's a real village connection. I don't think I knew any family that didn't have a mother and a father. There might have been bad relationships, but back then, there was that. Um, and there's clearly a big shift. All the kids I mentored at high school, and tens of them were all boys, and all of them came from a broken family. So yeah, so I think we've lost some of that goodness. Someone can literally be dead next door, and they're there for months because they just haven't got that connection. Hopefully, we'll get it back again.
Do you think our society is capable of reconstructing the village in different ways? So, like back in what you said, back in the 50s and 60s, when you were growing up, that village was literally localized to your family and the physical people around you. Now we live in a very online world. Can the village be recreated? Can there be multiple villages in different ways?
I want to be optimistic, and I would hope so, but I don't think so. I see a lot of the social media actually making it worse. People often put up their best on these platforms, which can help make other people feel even more inadequate. Um, I mean, I see that like incredibly useful tools. Look what we're doing now, but I also see the negative ramifications for that, and people, um, I guess, seem to get self-esteem from how many likes or how many connections or whatever. It just, yeah, I don't know what the answer is. I wish I had the answer, but it's probably getting back to that. Um, my background has been as a Christian, and the churches were a place where there was connection, no matter what. Well, sorry, it should have been a place, not always, where there was connection. But with the decline of the influence and the participation in churches, so what are these people who are socially marginalised? Where are they going? Where are they going now? Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to be a downer with this, but you asked the
No, that's
question, and
fine. I did
I,
ask the question.
I think things like mentoring men can help because we actually match someone who may be going through those challenges with someone who will listen to them. With Kintsugi Heroes, there'll be stories told and shared that hopefully will closely relate to the situation. In fact, the very first Kintsugi Heroes conversation was around a guy sharing his grief with the death of his wife. Amazing conversation. And he went through suicide ideation, but I see other people. I struggled with grief. Most people struggle with grief, and just to be able to hear that story, may help with some of the connections. Maybe it's more virtual, but maybe that can then open up other opportunities. I am involved with a local program. I live in the Hornsby area of Sydney, called the Village Hub, and it's an initiative funded by the local primary health network, and it sets up a whole bunch of community activities aimed at more senior members of the community, from art classes, from yoga, from playing games, whatever. And maybe that's a really positive initiative, I think. So maybe that's something like that's is going to help bring people together and get supported.
You mentioned Kintsugi Heroes, but we haven't actually introduced it yet. You also mentioned your passion project earlier. So, how about you tell me about this passion project that you've managed to get going, and I'll
Okay,
let you introduce.
So the Kintsugi Heroes is the name that was given to this idea back in the 1990s. And why Kintsugi Heroes? One of my mates suggested this. So, and it goes back to, it's a Japanese term, and it goes back to a Japanese emperor who had some valuable pottery, a lot more expensive than my coffee cup here. And the pottery broke, and he said to the craftsmen, put it back together again so you can't see the breakage. But they couldn't do it. But they were able to put it back together using precious metals like gold. So when you look at the pottery, you see that it's been broken, but it's now far more valuable than what it was before. So it's a metaphor for what we go through in life, the challenges, the hardships, the adversity, actually make us more valuable members of society. We're able to contribute, help other people. And so what it involves is just having people who've been through adversity and navigated their way through that. And almost always they then gladly share that story to help others. So they share it with the conversation with you, Av, which is just brilliant. And then we get that content, and it's edited to audio, video, podcasts. But still going back, I love the idea of a printed book and a Kindle book. And these stories, the people are lining up to come and share stuff about. It could have been childhood abuse, relationship breakdown, Indigenous, gender diversity, addictions, grief, and a whole bunch of migrants in a whole bunch of other things. So there's a lot of support for it. It's an initiative that Helen and I are funding. Well, I guess she's the breadwinner, so she's funding it. And can I put a plug in here? if anyone watching this would want to get on board and help share some of the costs, we would greatly appreciate that. We are putting in for grant submissions, but I'm committed to get this to the point where at least the first book comes out. But I'd love to see this as a legacy long after I'm gone, that these stories just keep multiplying. So there's always someone going through some adversity. They can be pointed to a story that's going to resonate with them, and who knows, could change their life.
It's wonderful, and yes, I am a part of that. But it's your I'm interviewing you today, so I'm not here to talk about Kintsugi. It's very exciting though, and I love that you've been able to bring that 2 decades old. Was it 3 decades? 3 decades old idea.
I looked at the letter I sent to Dick Smith, and the phone numbers only had 7 digits. So, and I almost I look at it and I cringe at some of the wording I use, but the concept's still the same. So,
talk to me a little bit about mentoring men, Ian. About some of the things that you've learnt from building that from scratch, and being able to step out at the start of this year and sort of hand over. What has been some of the biggest learnings that you've had through that journey?
Do you mean in terms of the business, or do you mean in terms of the state of health of men?
Oh, look, either. Yeah, because they're intertwined, right? The success of the business comes down to the success of helping these men as well.
Well, it's been a huge learning curve for me around the situation with men and how to support them. I've interacted with social workers, counsellors, psychotherapists. The training course that was put together for us, things like the Brené Brown TED talk around vulnerability, around the talking circles. I remember the very first training course. The guy who actually came from one of the Dad's Army guys actually put the training course for us. And I saw on the course he had this talking circle. I think, oh, this is going to suck. And it was on the second day of the training, and it's basically a bunch of guys around a table where trust has built up. There's been a bunch of exercises that have gone on, and then there's silence. There's a thing that's handed around. In fact, I've got it. I don't know why, but this is the thing that he had. It doesn't matter. And the rules are that that's handed to someone, and if they want to, they just share what's on their heart, what their emotions are. No one interrupts. And I thought I was going to be really uncomfortable because I wasn't sure where this is going to go. And first guy, I miss my dad. And the second guy, I can't get access to my kids. My mum gambled away our house. And it just went on, and I was like tears, and it built such empathy. And I guess I learnt the power of vulnerability, happy to share my story, like the honesty, and I learned a lot around suicide prevention. Our training covered suicide prevention as well. So there's been a huge learning curve for me, and still learning. And I could talk for a long time about that. In terms of the business, so I've come in relatively unqualified. I was an IT manager, but doesn't necessarily mean I got strong IT skills. I maybe had organizational skills. And all of a sudden, I've got to register a business. I need a constitution. I need a board. There was a great list of things, a lot of forms and website and social media and all that. And what I did, I just started. And it's amazing how things happen. And I mentioned my faith, but I'll just share one of the things. So for years, I was running a men's breakfast on my back veranda. We would just bring guys around, give them breakfast, and have a couple of speakers.
Is that
And
before Mentoring Men started, Ian, or was this? Yeah, it
before
was.
Mentoring
Okay.
Men, I don't even know why I did it. It was like we'd have 70 guys for breakfast. And
Wow.
one of the guys just said something to me. I think we had a guy talk about mental health, and he just shared with me that he'd been suicidal. And he sent me, no, he sent me an email after the event saying how much he enjoyed the event and he'd been suicidal before. And I messaged him back, say, can we just catch up for a chat? And met up, and my primary concern was his health. And he said, oh, Ian, thanks so much for asking, but everything's okay. And so we finished chatting. I was about to go. I said, oh, what do you do for a job? So I'm a solicitor and a lawyer. I don't even know the difference. And I said, oh, look, I've got to do this constitution. I've got no idea what I'm doing. He said, Ian, I'll come around. He spent 3 or 4 hours at my place, went through, got out the law books, and we came up with a constitution. That sort of thing happened again and again and again. So I just started moving in that way. And then a guy tennis, I just talk because I have a tendency, I get passion. I start talking about it. And he said, oh, look, I design websites. So he designed and hosted a website for me. And just things, I would have my pull-up banner. Not that one, that's Kintsugi Heroes, but the Mentoring Men one. It was a very small market in Sydney. And this woman came up and it just resonated with her. And then she said, she lived from the other side of Sydney, miles away. She just happened to be there, I think, with the daughter. And what Mentoring Men was all about resonated with her. And she shared that one of her sons had suicided. So she took some flyers, went back, talked to her husband, and both of them incredibly passionate about trying to improve, reduce suicide rate and active in the community. So he came and did the training course and then let us know about a grant opportunity with the local primary health network there around where they saw mentoring as a proactive way of reducing male suicide. So we applied for that grant. We got $150,000. So this is a time where I would print in draft black and white because the ink was so expensive because it's all our money going into this. Mm-hmm. And we just through that, just doing something, and all of a sudden we got this. And the Western Sydney University did an analysis of the program and came up with this glowing report. In fact, the Professor Emma George is actually speaking at our open forum on Thursday about mentoring men. And that just leveraged off. It's just taking action. We had another philanthropist I'd never met, heard indirectly about the program, and he's basically funded us for the next 3 years. So I'm not sure. So I think the answer, what I'm trying to say, just do stuff, do the best you can. If you're passionate about the cause, then people will plug in and give you a help. And I'm hoping that will happen with Kintsugi Heroes as well.
Well, it seems to be happening for Kintsugi Heroes from what I can see. So, Ian, if someone's listening to this who is a solopreneur, they're doing the work, they're going hard in their business, and they're hearing you talk, and your amazing story, your journey, and they're hearing about the purpose, and they themselves are purposeful. What kind of nuggets can you give them, given they're in a commercial enterprise, a commercial business, they're trying to make money, and it could be that they've got to pay for their kids, school fees or whatever. You know what I mean? They're doing it hard because a lot of business owners, people that I meet, are in this situation. What kind of advice or nuggets could you give them?
Great question.
At this point.
Yeah, great question. And it resonates with me. What I've done is connect with some different groups. So every fortnight on a Tuesday, there's a bunch of us who have a common theme of giving back. And we're there to support each other, bounce ideas around. I'm involved with another group that meets every Wednesday, business people from around the world. And the objective of those meetings is just to maybe help build relevant connections, be advocates for. I presented Kintsugi Heroes, this group, and they gave me a whole bunch of feedback. So my advice would be to seek to join a group with people who are on your team Be absolutely open with them, and just seek their input. Make sure they know like what they're qualified. Yeah, there's some people who give advice who really shouldn't give advice in that area. But there's if people are interested, I can connect them with the group that I'm part of. There's no cost with any of this stuff. It's free. These people just genuinely want to help other people.
Yeah.
So I think that's the answer. Just seek advice. I guess potentially the model, what they're doing, may need to change, or it could be just they just got to keep working through this thing. But when you said that, I feel for it. Where you got because I was there. You've got kids, you've got mouths to feed. Some
Mm,
points we didn't have enough money for food, so it resonates.
mm,
And then what do you
mm,
do? And,
mm, mm. Great answer. Um, if someone's listening to this who is in that situation, so they're doing it hard, they're doing a lot of work, wheels are turning, they're focused on generating the income, and they've listened to your story and they know, because people that listen to this podcast typically have a sense of purpose, or at least they want to be in touch with and bring purpose into their lives because they've probably had a moment like you on the train and they don't quite know how to bring that in. So it could be that they've been doing their business or their whatever their thing is for a number of years, or just because that's what they're good at. It's a technical skill and they keep doing it to make money. How do they then figure out the purpose side? How do they tap into that? What can you share around that?
it's I tell people I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up until I was 59 and a half. So I get that. It's you just tend to go where the opportunities are. I haven't got a magical answer. I think I come back to that definition of the best life I have, which is to use your skills, your talents, your experiences to positively
Mm.
impact the world. But that's clearly going to be, well, assuming people buy into what I'm saying, it's
Yeah.
clearly going to be different for every person. But Mark Twain said that if you find a, a job that you like, you'll never have to work a day in your life. And it's it's almost like a best life advisor. Maybe there's a role for a best life advisor that you sit down and have a chat to.
Mm.
Um, but you need to be in a financial position, possibly
Position.
to do that. Can I just come back as well? Um, one of the things that particularly men struggle with is this ego thing. And I would suggest if people are going through that struggle and maybe men are reluctant to open up to their partner because it's a it's almost like a shame thing or a failure thing. But I'd encourage them to find someone that they trust, they can genuinely open up to. Now, if it's a male, mentoring men could be that option. But there's people around who've got your interests at heart, and
Mm.
you're not looking to them to fix. You're just looking to them to listen and support. And I've had
Yeah.
that person in my life for a few years, and it was fantastic. I'd make an agenda, we'd chat, and I'd leave my confidence to go on and take on challenges just grew. So I think I'd love to see everyone have a mentor, non-judgmental, confident, confidant
Mm.
that you can just share what's going on.
Couldn't agree more. You know that there's a certain magic in that human connection, and having someone create a space for you to share your vulnerabilities, believe in you, accept you, and it just changes your whole chemistry, your feelings, your emotions, and like you said, you can walk away from that feeling like a different person.
Yeah, I I've been meeting with my story was put in a book recently, and I've been reaching out to other people who were in the book. And I was chatting to one of the guys yesterday who, at one point, was an ice addict. He's now got this amazing um, thing that he's doing, which is helping all people move away from addiction. And his father died, I think it was either yesterday or the day before, and he posted a poem that he wrote to his father. and he had a poor relationship with his father, and like there was just a lack of love, and it, it's these things. They can have a long term impact. Well, it's a permanent impact. I mean, you can get around that, but I think it's so important. Like maybe it comes back to the loss of relationship or whatever, but just having someone believe in you, what you just said, Av, it's just so positive in a often a negative world, just to have that someone on your team.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing I'll add around tapping into purpose that I've found and noticed in others, and like I said, from personal experience, is breaking away from the day to day. So creating some space for yourself, as in not with your phone, because that's not your space. That's, the world, creating noise around you and sucking you into that noise. Putting your phone in another room or turning it off altogether and going and spending time with yourself. And a lot of people, I think, are quite uncomfortable with that. But I don't believe that you can really tap into your purpose and feel purposeful unless you've actually spent time and you're comfortable with who you are.
Yeah, look, I think self-care is so important. Now, it's going to vary, but in general, I think physical exercise, getting out in the bush, for me, I just gut myself. I push myself to the physical limit. All other thoughts go out of it. I'm thinking about the pain in my legs or the breathing or whatever it is. But yeah, it's self-care. It's like, fit your own face mask first,
Yep.
and be able to provide support to others. Yeah, I agree.
I love that, Ian. Fit your own face mask first, and that is self care. It's doing what you need for yourself, and once you do that, and do the things that give you that internal fuel, and the more time you spend with yourself doing that, I think then you create the opportunities for those ideas to pop in, which is what has happened to you over your life, and why this Kintsugi Heroes idea popped in when it did, obviously, but it just wasn't the right time to give birth to it until recently.
Yeah, I just didn't have the capability either as a kid and as an early 20s. I just had a lack of confidence.
Mm.
I had desires to do stuff, but I just interestingly, as a kid, my late teens, my goal was if I could just be average, that would have been brilliant. So, interesting where we change, and I'm not. Yeah, I just want to be the best version of me that I can, and I've still got a long way to go. And if anyone doubts that, just talk to my wife. So,
Oh, I love it. It's really cool. What's next for you, Ian? What's next on your list? Because you've obviously got a lot of goals and you've got so much
yeah.
passion and
Kintsugi Heroes. I've promised the daughter who just had the 12th grandchild that
12th.
I'll support her. So she's got a son that I look after every week, which we just Louis. I think you might have seen him on the calls, and I just
Yeah.
love spending time with him. So more family time. I get Kintsugi Heroes. I'm not sure if there'll be, to be honest, if there'll be anything else after that. Like there's some, I think that the focus will move back to the family unless something else comes up. But
Mm.
yeah, yeah. So that's. I'm sorry, I haven't got this grand plan of some major thing. I'd love to. I love helping other people out. Like I had a mate came over yesterday, and he's got this passion project, amazing project around social housing, and I just brain dump. I've got this ability to churn out all this stuff, and I thought it was a really good time. He gave a couple of ideas for Kintsugi Heroes as well, but so I like doing that just to help other people with their projects.
Mm.
Not an expert stressed on any of this stuff, but I do have a lot of ideas around different things, and I love seeing people. I would like nothing better than this guy to have a successful project with what he's doing. So, yeah, so there's that.
I love the passion and the love and the care that you exude and give to others, Ian. It's contagious, and it's just nice. And you know what, you're a kind of person that people enjoy being around because of it, because you naturally care about other people and seeing them live their best life. Let me just share that with you.
But I do it for the right motives. But it said it just the feeling you get doing this. And the guy who set up the helping people with addiction, I connected him with another guy, another amazing story, and the two of them met, and it's just blossomed. This is last week, and I thought it just gives me a great feeling. So even if it's just connecting, you and I've connected a couple of people, and I just love it, particularly people who are trying to do good, to connect them with someone else, and yeah. So that's a role that I could maybe continue to do. Yeah.
You've got a lot on your plate. I mean, 12 grandkids and the last one just being born. You're going to be busy for a while.
Yeah, yeah, but it's as I said, life's never been better than or enjoyable for what it is, and yeah, I set a goal. I've actually written a list of things I want to do before I die. So I'd love to write a story about. I mentioned it to my son. He said, "Dad, if you write, it'd be the most boring book of all time." But but I probably will do that. I love to see a legacy. It's not a book to sell, but a book just to continue down to let the kids, the grandkids, the great grandkids,
Like a
just
memoir, so to
like
speak.
like a memoir. My father-in-law did that just before he died, and it was great. I wish I had a chance to ask him more questions on it beforehand. So yeah.
Good. All right. Well, we're coming to the end. I've got one final question for you, Ian. Have you got any other nuggets or pearls of wisdom, or anything else you'd like to leave our listeners with from the valuable stores and vault of knowledge of Ian Westmoreland?
That's a great question. I used to have this fantasy. We have a big table, and all the family sit around this table, and I would be at the end, and there would be some discussion around some controversial issue, and they'd all be exchanging ideas. And all of a sudden, it would occur to them, hold on. They'd all turn around and look to me at the end of the table, and oh, great wise one, can you just just tell us what the answer is to this? I'm still waiting for that moment. I sit at the end of the table. No one's ever turned around. Um, what great wisdom! I think I used to think had a lot of answers to things as a kid, and then growing up. But as I've got older, I realised I, I haven't got a lot of the answers. Nothing as clear as it appeared to be, and um, so I think that's. I've got one along those lines, and I find a really helpful model to think of, because I think one of the challenges in the world, particularly driven by social media, is that we're getting further and further apart, whether it be politics or refugees or gender or anything. And I like the idea you've got a wire that almost goes to the two extremes, yes, no, black, white, positive, negative, but doesn't get there. And you put a bead on that wire, put it in the middle. And then as you listen to stories, situations, and interact with people from both sides, you may move that bead along, but it never gets to the end. And there's some people are so entrenched in their views, like I was. And I'm sure if I was to ask them, what information would you need to hear to change your view? They would answer, there's nothing that can change my view. And I'm going to be tough here. I think that's foolish. I think that is incredibly foolish. And so maybe move your bead, but always be willing to listen and to someone else's wisdom.
Beautiful. I love that. I've got a visual right now of the bead along that wire, and I was thinking about the answer to your question too. That's a good one. Wow. Thank you, Ian. It's been Absolute joy. I can't believe an hour's gone by already.
So
I
I've
hope
been
you've
told
enjoyed
I talk.
yourself.
It's been great. Got in the flow.
Yeah.
I've been told I talk too much, and so hopefully that hasn't been the case. But I just love the opportunity, and I just felt totally at home. So great job with the questions.
Thank you. Thanks for being you and sharing this amazing story. And I just love everything that you're doing and how you're shining your best life on the world. It's a great example for us all. So I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks.